guys, welcome back to another video. Today I'm on my in-laws balcony. I'm gonna be doing some late winter, early spring maintenance. I'm gonna be pruning their container grown rose. So if you have roses on your balcony or on your patio and you don't know how to prune them, in this video I'm gonna share some tips to help you out with this task. Okay, so here we have our rose, and now different types of roses will be pruned differently. You're not gonna prune climber the same way as you are gonna prune shrub rose, but I want to share with you some principles that apply for any roses so that you can prune your rose at least a bit, because if you don't prune your rose, it's gonna probably be a very unhealthy plant. It's gonna get really crowded, and it will promote all kinds of diseases. It can promote fungal diseases like powdery mildew, black spot, and it may not even bloom at all. That's exactly the case with this plant. Before I started to take care of this rose, the center of this plant was completely crowded. It didn't even bloom at all. But then the first year that I pruned it properly, it was just absolutely amazing, full of blooms. So it's really important to prune your roses for the health, for the overall health of your plant and for abundant flowering later on in summer. So let's start with some basic rules that apply for any types of roses. The best time to prune is February and March. Some people prune roses in the fall, and you can prune them lightly just to prevent windrock, but best time to prune is February and March, so that's right now. Okay, the rule number one is 3 Ds: dead, damaged, and diseased wood. So if you see any of this on your plant, cut it out completely. As you can see here on this rose, we have some dead branches here, one in the center. Let's just cut it out. And another one in here. Now, tip number 2, you are gonna cut any spindly, any weak growth, and any branches that are inward growing. It's very important for a rose to have open center, to not have any branches that are growing towards the center of the plant, because roses really need a good airflow around it to prevent fungal diseases. So if the center of the plant is really overgrown and is really blocked by all of those branches that are growing inwards, that is gonna cause problems. So you want to aim for open center so that all the branches are growing outwards, not inwards. So as you can see, this branch is a perfect example. We are gonna cut it out because not only it's a very weak branch, it's a spindly growth, it's growing inwards and it's rubbing against other branches. So anything that grows inwards, that is very weak, that is rubbing other branches, needs to go. Nowadays, most commercially sold roses are grafted. So that means that the rootstock of one rose is connected with the scion with another type of rose, and the two are connected, and the connection is the bud union that you see here. It's a little bit of a swollen area in between the roots and the top of the plant, and what can happen if your rose is not growing in optimal conditions, if your plant is stressed, is that the rootstock is gonna produce suckers. So there are gonna be stems coming out of the roots, which you have to pull immediately when you see them. You can't let them grow because this is gonna be a different type of rose. So you have to pull them out as soon as you see them. Do not cut them at all. Like, never ever cut suckers, because if you cut the suckers, then you are encouraging to grow even faster, because it's like with any plant. When we prune them, we encourage them to branch out and to produce new fresh growth. So this is going to be the same case with suckers. If you see suckers coming out from the rootstock, immediately pull them out. This is going to be the part that will be different for different types of roses. Here we have a shrub rose. It's a repeat flowering shrub rose, and this type of roses you shorten about 30 to 50%. I'm gonna go with the 50. And now how to make the cut. Okay, so let's say on this branch, as you can see, there's a bud in here, there's a bud in here, bud in here, bud in there. They are alternate, so they go one side, other side, this side, this side. And if you were to cut here, the next branch is gonna go like this direction. But if you were to cut above this bud, the next branch is gonna grow towards the center of the plant. And as I said, that's not what we want. We want to keep the center nice and open for the airflow. So always cut above an outward facing bud. Also, one last important thing, always make an angled cut. So you would make it this way, about half a centimeter above the bud and on an angle, this way. It's not too far, not too close, because if you go any closer, then you are gonna damage the bud. Okay, so it's done. I think it's not that bad. So as you can see, the center is nice and open, and there's gonna be good airflow here in summer. I left only thick branches, so I think we are good here. I hope that you feel less intimidated by pruning your roses now, but just as a recap, first you start with dead, damaged and diseased wood, then you cut any rubbing, any inward growing branches, any spindly growth, it all has to be cut out. If there are any suckers appearing from the rootstock of the plant, pull them out, do not use pruners on them, pull them out with your hand. And then you shorten your plant to different heights depending on the type of rose you grow, but you always want to make cut above an outward facing bud. Angled cut about 5 millimeters above an outward facing bud. At this point you could add slow release fertilizer on top of soil and then mulch on top of that. Don't worry, slow release fertilizer is not gonna feed your plant immediately, so even if it's still very cold, it's not like your plant is gonna start growing right now in February. Slow release fertilizers are heat activated, so it's only gonna start to release nutrients once the temperatures warm up and once your plant is actively growing. It's really important to feed your roses. Roses are heavy feeders, so if you are not fertilizing your rose, then most likely your rose is gonna be growing poorly, it's gonna get sick, and it's not gonna produce flowers abundantly. So it's really important to give it a slow release fertilizer right now in late winter, early spring, and then apply once again sometime in June or beginning July. So yeah, hope that you found this video helpful. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again in the next one. Bye. Ow. That was a bad idea not to take gloves for pruning roses. I have thorns everywhere now.